Yes, it's that time again for another off-the-cuff, let's just talk about something Doctor Who related video. The topic for this video is probably the most underrated incarnation of the Doctor, Colin Baker. So, what do I think about the 6th Doctor? Well, I think he's had a pretty rough ride when it comes to his era. His era of the show on television was probably the most weirdest point in the show's history, really, where it was not considered the great show it used to be. It probably ultimately led to the cancellation of the show at the end of the 80s, and for that I think Colin's Doctor and Colin's sort of interpretation of the character has been affected by that. He needs to be put higher up in Doctor's rankings. He's always near the bottom, and I always find that really frustrating because he's probably the loveliest. I've never met him myself, but he comes across in a lot of interviews as probably the loveliest guy you'll ever meet. If you ever listen to any of his Big Finish stuff, his interpretation of the Doctor is taken in the way he wanted to take it, and I wish it was done in the television show. So he's put a bit higher really in the rankings. I know it's always difficult, and everyone has their favourites, and I know people do like Colin as a Doctor, but it always seems to be that he's forgotten very much. Realistically, none of his stories are ever considered a classic, and a lot of his stories tend to be put at the bottom of lists, especially with Doctor Who magazine's first 50 years poll. They put his first story, The Twin Dilemma, always gets put at the bottom, and I maybe want to discuss a bit about The Twin Dilemma. I've only seen it once, but it never stood out to me as a story that was the worst Doctor Who story ever. I mean, I've watched quite a few stories that I would consider worse than this, I mean, like Underworld or Fear Her or The Sunmakers. Stories like that I found a lot more draggy, a lot more dreary. With The Twin Dilemma was just sort of just a typical story, it felt to me. And I think it was positioned quite badly in the way it was in the show's sort of lineup. It was positioned, it's the story directly after The Caves of Androzani, probably voted one of the best classic Doctor Who stories ever produced, so it got overshadowed drastically by that. Colin's performance was very hit and miss with that story. They had the whole strangling a Perry thing, which probably put his Doctor in quite a bad stead, considering that was the only story a lot of people had seen, and then they had to wait for like season 22 to come out, and that was there was a great period of time where that story was the only one that represented his Doctor in it, and I think it tainted his image. Time Lash is always put him quite low down, but I think apart from Time Lash, I'd still consider Time Lash quite good, on the same sort of level as The Twin Dilemma in my opinion. But some of his other stories I think are quite good. Mark of the Rani is incredibly good. Yeah, The Two Doctors, I love his Doctor's interaction with Patrick Troughton's second Doctor, and the return of Jamie and the Sontarans. That was a great adventure. And then even his Dalek story, Revelation of the Daleks wasn't the best Dalek story, but a lot of elements of that story was quite gruesome, grotesque, and it worked really well. And one of my favourites, of course, is Attack of the Cybermen. And that one I think is so underrated as a story because the Cybermen was so good, and I know it was quite brutal in places. They had the hand-crushing scene, which caused a lot of controversy. And I don't know. I think it got a lot. It wasn't as bad as people sort of really come across. Kids like to be scared, and I think it didn't really cross the line. I think it was borderlining it in places, but I don't think it did. So thoughts on his incarnation on telly? Well, his incarnation on telly was very close to what Hartnell's was in a lot of ways. He was very distant, and he was very grumpy in a lot of places, but he was. And very brash and very sort of bold, and I think it sort of took elements from the first Doctor and it sort of pushed them out a bit further. And we never got to see enough of those moments where he was quite, you know, him and his companion got on a lot. And if you ever listen to Big Finish and listen to any of his other things, I'll see if I give this a listen. This thing is great, fantastic. The final story he deserved. I don't listen to a lot of Big Finish stuff, but this one grabbed me because we never got that regeneration because of various reasons on the TV series. We got Colin Baker not coming back, and we got Sylvester McCoy in his wig, in his costume, and changing into himself. So it didn't really, but this sort of shows you and tells you exactly what happened during the 6th Doctor's last adventure, and a few other ones. I mean, it's a mixed mash of all the companions during his Big Finish era, and I think it's great. So if you've ever seen any of the TV stories and you're not impressed by Colin's Doctor, that's only a small fraction. I think Colin's probably done more stories than a lot of other Doctors have in the Big Finish. Give him a listen. I think it's definitely worth doing, and I've only listened to a few Colin Baker stories, and all of them were great, really good. His performance of the Doctor, you get that subtleness you never got on TV. But yeah, turbulent time. I think his Doctor's tainted by that, really. I think the first story that overshadowed by Peter Davison's final adventure, the gap between that and the first season. His first season is sort of meh, bit of controversy here and there, but not a lot of people sort of overly liked it. Then the big 18-month hiatus and that atrocity which is Doctor in Distress, which I think a lot of Doctor Who fans just try and blank out of their minds, and I think not a lot of us like to speak about really. You don't speak about Doctor in Distress. I think I've broken way too many Whovian rules by just mentioning it in this video. And then we got the Stride of the Time Lord, which I've got in various parts here. Don't be able to see down there. No. But that's part 4. And that was a good story, but it wasn't strong enough to carry it on. And then of course we got the threat of cancellation if Colin wasn't replaced, and yeah, I think it got a real rough ride of it. And he was even going to be, the idea was originally he was going to be in the first season 24 story. I think it would have been Time in the Rani, but that would have just solidified. I think Colin disagreed decided not to appear because of what happened to him at the BBC, and I think Time of the Rani would have been that icing on the cake really. I think if he had done that, because it's not a great story for Sylvester's first adventure, and I think it would have just gone, well, yeah, this was this era, this wasn't very good, and yeah, no. So in a lot of ways, I kind of glad he didn't do it. But there was a part of me that always wanted to see that regeneration, and you finally get to hear it effectively. So I hope people took a lot from this. I think I'm trying to push the case for the 6th Doctor. Him and the 8th Doctor have had sort of the worst rep because Colin's era was so weak and Paul only had the one movie, but Paul's had a sudden boost of appreciation because of the Night of the Doctor, the 50th anniversary. We've had Dark Eyes doing well, and I've got stuff falling down behind me. Whoop. So the 8th Doctor's had a lot of appreciation because of the 50th anniversary and because of all the great audios that Big Finish have produced, and I think Colin's starting to get that, but I think there needs to be something that puts him a bit higher on people's lists, because Paul has definitely been rated higher since the 50th anniversary, and I know it's almost more difficult to get Colin back into to that sort of status, because unlike Paul, Colin has aged a lot more than Paul has, and his Doctor, you know, changed, and it didn't look like he looks like now. He looks completely different to what he did back in the 80s, and that's the problem really with Colin. And yeah, I think he's just so underappreciated. I think of all the Doctors, all of them were great. I think everyone, when they say did a Doctor fail, then people most likely to lean towards Colin, and I think that's wrong. So I think Colin needs like a Dark Eye sort of release, Big Finish or something like that, or I don't know, something along the lines of the 6th Doctor gains that sort of appreciation again. Even if he appears as a different character, or the 6th Doctor turns up but aged, or something in the TV series, or some sort of, he needs that sort of push to get the appreciation he deserves, I think. So I hope people enjoyed this. Tell me if you like the 6th Doctor, what your opinions of him down below in the comments. What's your favourite story of his? What's your least favourite? Do you like him? Do you dislike him? Why do you agree or disagree with anything I've said in this video? Just let me know. Put a comment down below, and I get back to practically every comment I get given, because I don't get that many comments. So I will probably most likely reply to you. So I'll see you in another video. This might be the last regular video before I move. This might not be. I don't know if I'll record another one before I go. Let me know what sort of videos you like from me in the future, and we'll see where this channel goes over this next year. So for now, goodbye.